I'll go ahead and call the Monday, June 8th Board of Commissioners Budget Workshop or Work Session to order. I'd like to welcome everyone here. Madam Clerk, and for the public, Vice Chairwoman Jones is online. She's attending virtually, so we need to make sure we record that accordingly. Also, before we get going, Commissioner Adams will be here. He is wearing another hat as a Board of Trustee for Fayetteville State, and he will be joining us shortly when he gets off that call. Also want to recognize we've got some school board members here, the Vice Chairwoman, Jackie Brown. We have additional school members, Dolores Bell, Jackie Warner, and Tara George. I'd like to thank you all for being here, as well as our Superintendent Bracy is here with us as well, and he's going to be briefing us, but I wanted to recognize our elected official. Appreciate y'all's partnership and the work that you do on behalf of the school board and the public.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I'm just checking my speaker here. Can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we hear you perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, and then I'll be on mute.
Okay. At this time, we'll go ahead and I'll call for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Commissioner Fairclough.
Let's stand and honor God and country, please. Once again, Lord, we come into your presence. We ask your blessing on these proceedings. We ask that the things that we do today be acceptable in your sight and the sight of those of our constituencies who would be honored by our presence and by your presence. In thy name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. At this time, we'll move forward to item 2, approval of the agenda. County Manager Greer, I believe we have an addition.
Yes, Chairman, we need to add a closed session. I don't have the paragraph in front of me, but it's for attorney-client privilege.
318.11A3.
Thank you.
31811.
A3.
Any other additions to the agenda? Seeing none, Commissioner Tyson, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
We've got a motion to approve the agenda with additional closed session. Been properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. All in favor, raise your right hand or say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
4. Commissioner Tyson.
Overachieved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll go ahead and move forward. Item 3, budget workshop presentations. We'll move forward on budget work session 6-8, and we'll start with the debt model, general government, and education debt models.
Yes, Chairman, just a little change in order. I would like to Dr. Bracy, Dr. Eric Bracy, Superintendent of Cumberland County Schools, to go ahead and present his and do his presentation, and then afterwards we'll have the debt model discussion with DEC and Associates, Doug Carter and his firm, along with Robin Kuntz, Chief Financial Officer. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Bracy.
Thank you. And board, as Dr. Bracy's making his way up, just board recall this was as we were walking through the education portion of the debt model. There were some questions around it, so we thought it was beneficial. I know several of the members were not able to attend the joint meeting. I know you've all had an opportunity to read the presentation and presented the data, so we've asked Dr. Bracy and his team to be here to give us some highlights on the information and then be prepared to answer any questions so that as we move into our debt model, those questions will be answered ahead of time. So, Dr. Bracy, thank you for being here. Thank you for your staff for taking the time to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Am I clicking for myself to that? I've done that in a long time. I'll try to do that. But let me say, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for the invitation. Members of the Board of Commissioners, thank you all so much for having us again today. County Manager Greer, if I could for a minute, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for introducing the board members. If I may have a moment here, I'm going to introduce some staff with me.
Yes, sir.
Jay Tolan is here, our Associate Superintendent of Business Operations. Kevin Coleman is here, our Associate Superintendent of Auxiliary Services. Matt Johnson is here, our Executive Director of Operations. Construction is here as well. We're going to get started. I want to, first and foremost, thank you all for giving us this opportunity for follow-up. Don't remember the day that we came to present, but we're just following up on that particular presentation. And if it's something that I misspeak, the staff already knows this, but I'll say this publicly. They know to stand and correct me real time. They know it doesn't bother me one bit. It takes a village. And with me, it takes two sometimes. But they know to help me when I stumble. Just also want to express my appreciation for, even though I wasn't a part of the school system, I want to express my appreciation for fully funding the school system for this current year's fiscal budget. It meant a lot, has really helped us with teacher retention, also has helped a lot with teacher recruitment. As you look at the scale, like people like me and Jay and everybody looks at the teacher salary schedules a lot, the state typically compensates or gives increases to people at the beginning. Our schedule, from your support and help, helps us compensate our teachers at the end. So we're thrilled for that. I also want to thank you for your approval of $300 million for school maintenance and $160 million earmark for future construction. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that support and that investment in our school system. Did I do it? It changed here. Oh, there we go. And we just want to provide this afternoon for everybody a recap of where things stand. And as far as the 26-27 budget requests that we have submitted to you for your review and for your approval. You see the bulleted points here, and we're going to continue to provide a concise update. Some of the key projects, it includes a new E.E. Smith High School, and we also want to put a new elementary school on the J.W. Coons site. I believe it was in February. I don't remember the date. In February, our board approved 18 motions related to facilities. The number one motion on that list of 18 was to construct a new E.E. Smith High School. Our board is very committed, I would say, to building a new E.E. Smith High School. We submitted our budget to our Board of Education, and on April 14th of this year, my budget proposal was unanimously approved by our Board of Education. And at a high level, some of the things that we asked for in our budget proposal, and my recommendation, was a continued commitment to compensation. I believe last year's budget, we focused on teacher compensation, classified staff compensation. This year, I think we went back to the well on classified staff compensation and also added some compensation for administrators as well. Because currently, as we're situated, we're not the highest paid principals and assistant principals in our region. And when you have principal vacancies and assistant principal vacancies, that makes filling those vacancies a challenge when other districts in our region are compensating their school administrators at a higher level than we are. We want to have the best and the brightest for the students in this county. Our students that attend our schools daily deserve just that, and that is our goal every day as a school system. Our local current expense budget request is $110,284,233. That is a $6,549,394 increase in the county appropriation. And we have also strategically used fund balance of $9,093,000 to help sustain continuity. ESSER left in September of 24, so we've been scaling down our positions. We expect to be fully rid of ESSER funded positions by the end of this next school year. That is our goal, to have no ESSER funded positions at the end of next school year. We've kept some people on from when the funding dried up, but we're scaling that back now every day. This budget that we're proposing builds on the continuity of last year's budget that you all so graciously approved. going to just jump into facilities and give an overview of our facilities planning work that we have done. And in a lot of this facilities work that we've done is being driven by the real conditions that we're facing in our district. A lot of our facilities, if you haven't been in them in a while, are aging facilities. We have significant maintenance needs in a lot of our facilities. We have declining enrollment. I think the number is over 1,200 kids that we lost from the prior year to this year, which equates to reduced state funding because the state funds us in arrears. We'll get our cut in this next school year based on what our enrollment looks like this school year. Used to be a time they would cut you in the middle of the year at Christmas, but they don't do that anymore. They delay it, and it gives you an opportunity to plan a little better. But we have more building capacity than our current student population requires, which requires additional costs and inefficiency, and it's always our goal as a school system to be as efficient as possible. With all these factors together, the realities make it clear that action is needed to better align our facilities costs and our student needs moving forward as a school system. That is why this conversation matters. That is why this conversation is important, and we're glad to have this conversation with you all today because it affects in many ways the future of our school system. I believe it was 2023 that Cumberland County Schools contracted MGT of America, an outside independent third-party review corporation. They reviewed the facilities conditions of every school, the enrollment of every school in our district, and the utilization across our school system. MGTs then made recommendations to our staff, and our staff then applied additional local considerations, including community impact, timing, implementation needs, and student well-being. The facilities plan that we've presented reflects the process and was ultimately approved by our Board of Education. Before I move into longer-term construction projects, I want us to briefly highlight the action the board has approved that can move forward using our existing facilities. There are some consolidations, some reassignments, and repurposing steps designed to make better use of our district spaces. In short, these actions help us respond now while the district continues preparing for the next phase of our school system. So modernize our school system, Just a look here at some actions that have been taken by the board and some actions that are pending by the Board of Education. Shows specific schools, programs affected by the first phase of the work that has been approved by the Board of Education. The key point here is that these actions rely on reassignment, repurposing, and better use of existing facilities in our school system rather than waiting for new construction to occur first. Quite simply, we're taking action now because we need to take some action now. They include targeted school closures, relocation of programs, and repurposing of buildings so the district can use current capacity more efficiently while maintaining optimal services for students. These actions also carry meaningful financial impact. As we said on our original meeting with you all, the proposed closures and consolidations represent more than $31 million in required and delayed maintenance savings to our facilities. Just as important, these savings are not coming from cuts to instruction. They are coming from reducing duplication in administration, utilities, and overhead while keeping the focus on students and school. I believe Mr. Tolan said in our last meeting that each school closure is $550,000. Am I right in that number, sir? Thank you so much. Let's talk about a little new construction. This part of our plan involves projects that do require construction and longer-term sequencing. These are the projects that are tied not just to modernization but to replacing aging facilities. I want to briefly walk you through these particular ones. Mentioned earlier a new J.W. Kuhn. This slide summarizes 4 major construction and modernization projects in the current plan. J.W. Kuhn, a new school there, roughly 800 students. Will construct a new elementary school on the current J.W. Kuhn site. Also, in the Ferguson-Easley area, we will construct a new elementary school on the current Ferguson-Easley campus. Also, planning to construct a new elementary school on the Stedman primary campus and combine Stedman primary and Stedman elementary school. And also, I mentioned earlier, about a new E.E. Smith High School and constructing a new comprehensive high school on the current campus of E.E. Smith High School. The larger goal is to replace older facility with stronger long-term solutions that match our enrollment as we go forward as a school system. Just a timeline for all of our moves that have been approved by the board. I'll briefly walk you through the proposed sequence of these. We have mapped out the moves, consolidations, and construction. I'll show you those at this time. For the 26-27 school year, the focus is on transition and preparation. That includes the initial moves, including Douglasboro High, Douglasboro North, Cumberland Virtual Academy, Alger B. Wilkins, Manchester, with the board has approved closure, EC staff moving to Pauline Jones, Ramsey Street EC staff moved to 71st High School, Ramsey Street relocating to Pauline Jones, and J.W. Coombs closure to make better use of existing space. At the same time, we would begin design and preliminary work on J.W. Coombs and E.E. Smith and prepare Reed Ross to serve as swing space for a new E.E. Smith. While a new E.E. Smith is being designed and constructed, those students would go from E.E. Smith to Reed Ross and use that as swing space so we can start to work on the construction of a new campus. The first year of this is about putting the pieces together for the larger construction and consolidation phases that follow. Looking at school year 27-28, the shifts continue. You see here where Ann Chestnut is proposed to be closed. Those students will go to Lewis Chapel and Westover Middle. You see Reed Ross Middle. Those students will go to Nick Gerald's 71st Classical for those that want to remain in the classical program. You look at Reed Ross High School. Massey Hill will be the home for those students that want to remain in the classical setting. Students that want to attend E.E. Smith will stay at Reed Ross because this is a swing space for E.E. Smith. Looking ahead to 28-29, can you believe that? Continue construction on the new J.W. Coon building, continue construction on the new E.E. Smith building, and begin design and preliminary work on the Stedman site. Looking ahead again to 29-30. Sherwood Park of Brentwood, going to the new J.W. Coon building that should be completed, and Ferguson Easy will go to Alger B. Wilkins as swing space. And we'll start construction on the new Ferguson Easily, we'll start construction on the new Stedman, and continue construction on E.E. Smith building and start design on the Grays Creek addition. Just keep in mind that high schools typically take longer to design and construct than elementary and middle schools. I'm sure Mr. Johnson will share some details if they are needed. School year 30-31. Students at E.E. Smith will leave their swing space at Reed Ross and matriculate to their brand new state-of-the-art building. We will continue construction on the new Ferguson site and continue construction on the new Stedman building as well. And we will start construction on the new Grays Creek addition. Moving ahead to school year 31-32. Stedman primary and Stedman elementary students will go into the new Stedman school. Alger B. Wilkins and Margaret Willis, which has been used as swing space, would go into the new Ferguson Easily building. And we would also use Grays Creek addition as well. Just a little follow-up from our last joint meeting. The additional cash flow information requested during that discussion has been provided to the county leadership. We sent that in May per our discussion, as we said we would. It includes monthly cash flow projections totaling $610 million, including updated figures for J.W. Coon and E.E. Smith with FF&E and contingency. Those totals are separate from the district's annual $7.5 million in pay-to-go projects. And we're happy to answer any questions you may have about that information. Moving forward. At this point, the Board of Education has approved facilities plan and timeline in place, and our team is prepared to move forward as funding is released and the next steps are clarified. We're happy to provide any additional information to the board, and we'll answer any questions that you have about any of this that's been shared. Thank you. And I'll pause there and wait for any questions.
Board, anything, County Manager, anything you want to add before I open it up for questions?
I would just say, just like Superintendent Bracy said, both staffs have been meeting, having very productive meetings. We just wanted to make sure that the board gave our board, commissioners gave us guidance to move forward with the project.
In board, I think our focus is going to be around the construction and maintenance, because we're going to talk the debt model, which that focuses. I know the staffs are working through some of the operational dollars that are being discussed. So I mean, we can ask those questions. You can ask any question you want, but I think the focus is around trying to make sure we've got our questions answered around the debt model as we're moving forward. So I will begin to open this up to commissioners. Vice Chairwoman, let me see if you wanted to go ahead and go, or if you want me to give you a minute. I know you had.
Yes.
You're recognized, Vice Chairwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I do have a question. My question is this, and thank you for the excellent presentation to our superintendent. As we all know, we want to definitely keep our community informed. So my only question at this time is this. We do appreciate being on YouTube and individuals being able to watch this. However, my question is, with a lot of different changes that are taking place and a lot of updated, and pretty much there's been a big gap of any information being provided to our community in a while now. Therefore, I appreciate the former and past town halls and community engagement meetings. So with that being said, will there be a future town hall or community to update the community in regards to the request, I guess, or updates when it comes to the different schools and whatnot, especially with the recent consolidations, and primarily with the E. Smith? Will there be a town hall to inform our concerned citizens and community about the proposed, I guess you can say, or updates of anticipation of what our community can anticipate? And I'm asking that as if these are the questions, although we are the commissioners and we respectfully allow the Board of Education representatives, no doubt, to maneuver things, these are still, as we're in collaborative partnership and do provide the fundings, these are the questions that I continuously get every day, as the citizens are our priority. They're at least mine, as I'm sure they're everyone else's. So with that being said, that is my question. Can our community anticipate or some town halls to inform them of upcoming matters such as what we're discussing, of what they can anticipate moving forward with E. Smith? And to be quite frank, just a town hall to ensure them of the trust and honor with elected officials of what's to be expected for the next steps ahead. So that's my question. Will there be some community town halls to inform that of our community, of which this Board of Commissioners and that of also the elected school board, we represent and work for them? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That is my question.
Okay. Well, the Vice Chair mentioned E. Smith about communication or a town hall. I'll answer that this way. Whenever you construct a high school, and when you're constructing a historic high school such as E. Smith, there's going to be community engagement so the community can have their input on what the school should look like in the design and build of the school. So yes, there'll be information that flows from the Auxiliary Services Office with Mr. Johnson and Mr. Coleman about where we are every step of the way in this process. You're going to do community engagement for those schools. Whether you call that a town hall, I have no idea. But the community of all those schools will have an opportunity to provide their opinion on the school design and school layout. I don't know if that answers your questions, but that's the way we've historically done it. Those of us superintendents who have built multiple schools in multiple districts, that's typically how it's done.
Well, thank you. I guess primarily my question was, were we going to stay in alignment, not to get too in-depth with this, were we going to stay in alignment that seemed to have been effective, but that is you all's choice and decision. I meant to that of the community that we're serving has been asking me. They seem to have liked the in-person town halls, of which, for example, they had a few that were done at E. Smith. So what I'm getting when I'm out at the neighborhoods, I appreciate, no doubt, that of flowing through administrative information that goes to, like you said, different capacities. But specifically, the question I've been asked, I guess you and your staff may or may not know that at this time, is because of all the different changes. Specifically, the question I've asked is, will this information be coming through in-person town halls? That's what I've been asked from the community. Therefore, as when I stated to them, I would pass that forward respectfully to you all to ask that. And so in that manner of presentation is what I'm being asked.
Yeah, I guess.
Town hall, in person. So I just want to, be able to represent the community in the way they've asked me to. You may or may not know if that's what you all's plan is, but I would like to be able to, just give the community what they're asking me to give them.
Yes, ma'am. That's not a conversation that I've had with the board. I'd be happy to talk to the board about what that looked like last year. So I'm not opposed to that, but I would like to know what that looked like last year. Maybe those who have been here for a while, like Mr. Coleman and Mr. Tolan, or some board members can tell me what that looked like at E. Smith.
Okay, great. That sounds great. Just trying to make sure that, no doubt, we're in alignment, and of course, as you stated, including the concerns of our community. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Vice Chairwoman. Commissioners, other questions? Real quick, a question. I told Commissioner Adams I would ask, and if he wasn't here, I know he's still on his way. The acreage that Ferguson Easley sits on and that E. Smith sits on, so that the acreage of the two.
You looked in the right
I
direction.
know, that's what I learned.
Matthew, Kevin.
Want me to stand here?
No, we need you to go to the, I apologize, need you to go to the podium. We should have put y'all over here.
That's all
probably.
right.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
So what was the question?
So acreage for Ferguson Easley and E. Smith.
E.E. Smith is, I think, 22 or 23 acres. I would have to pull up.
24.
Almost 24, yeah. And I think Ferguson, I'd have to pull that up. I think it's 13 or 14, but I can get that in the next minute or two.
Okay. All right. Commissioners, other questions? Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized for, I'm sure, a series of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Superintendent, first of all, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And for delivering this presentation. I want to apologize that I wasn't able to make it to
Sorry.
the joint meeting.
Sorry.
I didn't mean any disrespect by that. Had a lot of health issues going on in my family, which we've resolved. But also want to thank the school board members for being here and for y'all taking the bold step that you did on following through on the MGT's recommendations and finding a path forward. Being on an elected body, I know those decisions are never easy, but they are very necessary. So I want to thank y'all for your leadership you've shown there. Couple questions. I'm going to give you the easy one first.
Appreciate it.
Stedman Primary and Stedman Elementary. I talked to some of the residents out there, and there was some discussion as to why one of the sites was favored to build a new facility on that's a lot smaller site. That site doesn't have quite the level of amenities that the other site had. And so I know there were some questions from the community on, how we determined as we looked to build that new facility there, why we chose the location that was chose over the other.
Thank you, Commissioner Tyson. If you look at Stedman Elementary, it was closer to the main road. Stedman Primary is more far off, but Stedman Primary has a large field behind it. The reason we chose Stedman Primary is you could literally take a wall and put it, there's no swing space needed. You can build the school while they're still in school if you build it on the back portion of Stedman Primary. So that was the reason. Okay.
And then secondarily, and I did have a chance to kind of refresh myself with the MGT study, and I appreciate it. And I take it there's probably not a whole lot of material changes that we've seen in terms of the utilization and capacity that we've had since the study came out. But my question is this: has there, and I do applaud the consolidation and this plan, and I am in support of it. I think it's a great plan moving forward. One of the things that I did notice in the MGT study is that we did still have some of the facilities that weren't mentioned in the proposed plan still fell within the pink or the yellow on the utilization of the facilities. Is there currently a discussion or would you see a discussion in the future, and this may be a better board question, of more of a comprehensive redistricting process that the school board and the school system may take on? And is there any kind of plan to advance that in the near future?
That is a board question. We hadn't gotten,
There hasn't been any discussion that you know of.
Not since I've been here, yeah.
And nothing planned in the near future to have that discussion.
Here's what I say. I think we wanted to look at consolidations and closures and then see where we are after that to have that next conversation. Those are my thoughts about that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it.
Commissioners, other questions? Vice Chairman Jones, you're recognized. Round two.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate that. My question is this: Spring Lake was left the only one elementary school with only one elementary school, W.T. Brown Elementary, following the permanent closure of Manchester Elementary School. And so my question is for someone that I guess, or he can answer this, anybody from the Cumberland County Board of Education, being that when it comes to equity and municipal planning, given that Spring Lake is the third largest municipality in Cumberland County, I just guess I was curious, why did the Master Facilities Assessment and MGT of America study recommend closing Manchester Elementary rather than programming capital funds to build a modern replacement? I get this question, a modern replacement on, for a new place to be out there since J.W. Coons campus. I'm very curious about that, number one. Also, the capacity and burden shifting from the shuttering of both Lillian Black Elementary, vacant since 2022, and now since Manchester will be closed down, there seems to be a lot of capital investment disparities. While I do appreciate the E.E. Smith School renovation and building with the new school for sectors, and no doubt we're going to be doing things out in Stedman, I will be the one to ask the tough questions and put it out there as I'm getting these tough questions from my community when it comes to equality and disenfranchised areas. And again, they are the third largest municipality. There was no plans or any discussion, or is there any for the future? Somehow it seems like Spring Lake got left out. Now, I know this is an uncomfortable question that nobody wanted me to ask, but I'm going to ask it anyway because, again, as the at-large representative, and I do have to think about the people in Spring Lake, those are great concerns that I keep getting every day in my email. So are there any plans? It's right there by the first largest base. And so appreciate my constituent, Commissioner Tyson, saying that he's for this, and it's great and wonderful, and I'm glad that we're going to be doing some things for those folks out in Stedman, no doubt. But I do have concern about Spring Lake. With that being said, are there going to be any other plans? We're shutting down schools down there. I'm very concerned about disequality and that of disenfranchisement when it comes to minority communities. And I'm going to say what needs to be said and, address the elephant in the room because it needs to be addressed as it's already been addressed out in the community. So can someone help me, give me some input on that since those schools are being closed down out there and for the reasons as I just discussed and asked the question, why wasn't any of that considered? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Dr. Bracy.
That was a long question.
So I think the question.
I can go back and break it down and make it shorter if you like.
That would help me, yes.
Actually, you're right. It was probably three and one. You want me to go back and just start with one at a time? That's probably was fair and best assessment because
That's fair.
again.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, so the first question would be, since we do appreciate that you all have got, a very great consulting company and all this to do the research. First question is, being that we do no doubt know that there's been money allocated and set aside for elementary schools to be built in other areas, why wasn't, we get it about safety, have to close certain schools, why wasn't Spring Lake being considered for a new school out there, especially under the consideration their other schools had been closed down? So we'll start right there. If we're going to build new schools and all of that, doing all this research, and we are aware of the situation out in Spring Lake, why wasn't there consideration for them to also, since we're looking at rural areas and all this, so kids don't have to be bused almost an hour and a half away, why wasn't that being a consideration, since they already had other schools closed, not to build a new school out in Spring Lake? We'll start with that question.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
I wonder, Madam Vice Chair, was it the fact that there's a school built in the 90s, probably 30 years newer, that's 1.6 miles away? That could have been some of the consideration. I'm not aware of anybody from Manchester that's going to have an hour bus ride. I'm not saying it's not happening, but I'm just not aware of that. Because those students, to my knowledge, the majority of them are going to be at W.T. Brown, which is 1.5 miles or 1.6 miles away. And some additional students are going to be at Ponderosa Elementary. I don't know the mileage from Manchester to Ponderosa.
It's an hour drive, sir. We don't have that. I know the mileage from it.
Okay.
Because I know it because some of the commissioners in Spring Lake, they did a test drive on the bus from there to over the Westover area in traffic during that time in a regular car. So that's how I know it.
It's an hour?
I know commissioners, yes, in the morning time, during school hours, from that location to there, from certain neighborhoods, yes. I know some parents that took the initiative, since we do this for the community, they took the initiative to see what it would take for them in their own car from where they live in their neighborhood, since their child goes to Manchester. So we can now be educated on the realistically of those that will be impacted. So in their car, from where their child now takes a bus to Manchester, and their child, and that neighborhood is being one that's gonna have to go to that area over to Westover, that is how long it does take.
Okay.
This is not what I don't know to be facts. This is videos been sent to me because I appreciate parents taking the initiative that are going to be, but it's no fault of yours because you don't know what you don't know, but now we all do know. We've had parents that did just that because this impacts them, decide to say, let me get in my car and let me drive there in the hours of school. So be aware when other emails come in and they felt the need to share this with me, hoping I would share this with, I guess, the school board and the rest of the commissioners. So I'm sure respectfully, no fault of yours, you wouldn't know unless you do live out there, unless you did get in a car with your child as these concerned parents did. So hopefully my understanding is they'll be sending these videos to your school board as well. Maybe that may or may not be taken in consideration at that time, but it's gotten into the hands of me. So as I have to do my job as a responsible elected official and share it with you all.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I think your second question was around, is there future plans to build schools in the Spring Lake area? So the first question was around why closure of the school in Spring Lake, Manchester, and then second, is there future plans or discussions to look at a new school in Spring Lake?
Well,
Absolutely. And those questions, like I said, are coming from the Spring Lake residents that have these concerns. And I look forward to them, like I said, sending them those videos as they send it to me because, as we all know, driving doesn't seem long till someone actually does the test itself, just like the bus routes that people complain about, but many of us don't ride on the regular buses, nor do we have to take our children to school. So we wouldn't know that.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Dr. Bracy, can you answer the second question?
Before he answers, can I ask
Your point of personal privilege, or?
Yes, I just need to understand something. Where in the plan is it showing anybody from Manchester to Westover? I'm missing that. I've looked through here and I can't find it.
I think it's about 50 students.
It's what?
50 students going from Manchester to Ponderosa Elementary.
Oh, okay, but I don't see it written down here. I'm sorry, is there a page that I'm missing or something?
It was in the original presentation.
Is this a change from the original?
It's more concise, not as detailed. It's a little more concise.
So,
But do you have the original? We can send you the original if we need be.
Okay, so if I go back to the original, I'll find 50 students going from somewhere in from Manchester to Ponderosa.
You'll find that some students are going to be assigned from Manchester. I don't know if it specifically lists 50, but some students from Manchester are going to be assigned to Ponderosa
To
Elementary,
Ponderosa.
which is in the Westover area.
Vice Chairman saying that's an hour to an hour and a half away.
I didn't realize it was that long.
That's what I'm trying to clarify. I didn't see it written down.
It is, the parents have sent me videos, they got in the car themselves, I didn't realize it either. I didn't realize it either until the parents sent me a video with their concern.
Vice Chairman, hang on for me. I'm trying to control the room, and we've got a couple people trying to answer the question. So, school board member, we've got a school board member that wants to address a portion. If you do, I just need you to come up to the mic if you would. Thank you, Vice Chairwoman. Sorry, I know you can't, it's hard for you to see the room, but we're trying to satisfy all the questions.
Yes, Vice Chairwoman Jones, it is the students 50 students from W.T. Brown that will be relocated to Ponderosa.
From W.T. Brown. Where are they coming from to W.T. Brown? Am I-
So if you look at W.T. Brown, there's going to be about 50 students that is going to, if you have Ponderosa's attendance area, there's an island, or there's one little area of town that sits right next to it. Right now, those students go to W.T. Brown, right next to Ponderosa. What we're doing is we're going to move the students, those 50 students that are next to the Ponderosa attendance area that currently go to W.T. Brown, those students will go to Ponderosa. That will free up space at W.T. Brown.
Okay, so they're not going from Manchester to Ponderosa, they're going from Ponderosa to Ponderosa.
50 students are going from W.T. Brown to Ponderosa.
Okay, but they live near Ponderosa, is that correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay, they don't live in Manchester, that's
No,
my
sir.
point.
They live, the lines were drawn years ago. I don't
Gotcha.
know why, but it is right next to Ponderosa where these 50-ish kids live.
Okay, so the hour and a half is irrelevant now.
It is geographically is close to where they're going from W.T. Brown over. Manchester will go to W.T. Brown, but the kids that are at W.T. Brown, 50 of them are going over to make room at W.T. Brown for the Manchester kids. Does that make sense?
So I'm going to move the floor back to the question around the future. So the second question from the Vice Chair was around, is there future conversations, discussions?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, excuse me. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Vice Chairwoman.
Okay, let me be real clear, because I'm not going to be insulted, and that might not be the intent. So before we move on, and I'm going to say it as the Vice Chair, Commissioner at Large, and for my community, because the insults will not continue. Now, let me make myself clear as a highly intelligent African-American. Concerns from very competent parents, of which is an officer that's texting me now that feels insulted, that's watching this as well. Now, let me make myself clear again for all those present. I have concerns from parents that are quite competent. One of them's an officer on the phone now. Now, we're not going to go back and forth, but when I ask the question and I state that a citizen of this county has made a video from where their child lives, they're aware where they live, where they've been informed where they will go to school. Now, there's going to be some concerns later. This isn't time or place. But when I ask the question, my character will not be challenged. And I state that I've received a video from a quite well competent officer serving in the United States Army. I don't even have to go there. Doesn't matter if they were or they were not. And they make a tape, and they go from their house to where they have to take their child, which is near the Westover School, and during traffic areas, and they've got a video stating 45 minutes to be exact. I don't care if it's one child or 50, that is how long, actually a little bit longer. I'm not going to sit here, we're not going to go back and forth and have my character questioned. Now, when the video comes, as I stated the concerns, because I'm here to represent the community, and they have a concern how long their child that's 8 years old will be on a bus. Now, I don't care if it's one child, 5 or 10. And as I stated, I'll be more than happy to share the video, as now I'm getting even more texts, and that video will go to the school board. But what we're not going to do, let's be clear, is question my integrity or that of any parent in this community. So, with that fact being said, as I stated, a parent had a concern how long it took them in their car. And I don't care if it's one child, 2, 3, or 5, one child is too many, and they felt it's too far. They've got video of which will be sent to you all as it was sent to me. And I address the concern because every parent's concern is a concern to me. So what we're not going to do is go back and forth. That goes for any commissioner up there, any superintendent, and anybody on the other board, and challenge or disrespect that of concerns of any parent in this community. That's what we're not going to do. So, Mr. Chairman, now that I've got that straight and I've got parents blowing up my phones, you're right, we can go on. But let's be clear, as this sensitive subject, we are here to serve every parent. I don't care if it's 1, 5, or 50. And we're not here to question their videos or their concerns, and I'm not either. So I asked what was asked of me, and I would appreciate that respect from everybody sitting in that room to understand that. Be clear on that, and my question is now answered. Let's be clear. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, as I am here to serve for every parent and every community citizen.
Thank you, Vice Chairwoman. At this time, thank you, Vice Chairwoman.
As you all, don't cut me off, are here to serve for them as well.
Try not to.
Thank
It's
you.
hard to do this when we're this way. Thank you for your comments. Again, Board, I want to remind us, we're going to stay focused on the funding side of this because this is what we are focused on. I know there's questions around movements and that, and I would just encourage us to have those conversations continued with the other elected officials. We'll get this information in here. But the last question, very simply, is there future funding discussions around a future school in Spring Lake? And then we'll move forward to any other questions.
I think those conversations start with enrollment in that area. As students move into the area and they're school age, we'll have those conversations.
Okay. All right, Board, any other questions around the information we need to make funding decisions for the new construction and maintenance? And remember, the operational conversations are still happening with our staffs. All right, hearing none, I don't think we need anything else from Dr. Bracy. Dr. Bracy, we appreciate your time, your staff's time, the board members' time for coming and updating us. Also, Board, want to remind us, our conversations, we're still trying to stay that 2 to 2.5 hour time frame, and we're moving.
Mr. Chairman, he has that accurate acreage for you.
Go ahead.
You asked that
So
question.
from the GIS, from the county GIS, Ferguson Easley is 14.95 acres, and E.E. Smith is 27.97.
Okay, thank you. County Manager Greer, did you have something else?
No, that was it.
Okay.
That was it.
All right, again, Dr. Bracy, thank you for the information.
Thank you, sir.
We appreciate, so what, we understand the ask. The ask is, previously we've committed $460 million towards new construction and maintenance. We're looking at an additional $150 million to take the total to $610. We understand the needs of the schools. We understand the aging infrastructure, and our board will, I think our team has those. And we appreciate your staff and the quick way that you turned around those cash flow models and when you need the dollars, because that helped us build out our debt model, which is what we're talking through today. So I appreciate that. And I also want to recognize Commissioner Adams is now here with us. And tell you what, real quick, if you want to give those acreage real quick, you can hear it firsthand.
I got them.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
At this time, we'll go ahead and move forward. Thank you again, Dr. Bracy. Go ahead and move forward to the debt model around, we're going to look at the education debt model first.
Yes. Robin Coots, Chief Financial Officer, and Doug Carter, President and Managing Partner with DEC and Associates, will present this item, answer any questions you may have. with the updated debt models.
Yeah, so based on the due out from last week. So in board, just as a well, I'll let you set the conditions. You go ahead. It looks like you've got it in front of you.
Okay, good
Go
deal.
ahead.
So good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. We met a little over a week ago. We had just met the day before this board convened a week ago and received the cash flows for the asks from Cumberland County Schools. So DEC Associates, our financial advisors, did not have enough time to really work on that. Plus, Cumberland County Schools since then has been able to forecast cash flows out for the entire ask, both under the $460 million request and the $610 million request. So we've used this last week to kind of bring all that together between DEC Associates and our staff at Cumberland County Schools. So when we left here last time, the ask was to put $10 million in for Fayetteville Tech in case they receive the other $10 million from the state in their budget for this year. So that's been added. In addition, we were asked to consider a deferred maintenance amount for Cumberland County facilities. Our county manager suggested that we build $265 million into our general government model for that purpose. So DEC has done that. And then in addition to that, we are still showing two versions of the education model. The first one being at the $460 million level, which we had approved previously, and then an additional model, which includes the additional $150 million requested by Cumberland County Schools. And it's not been approved yet, but we've worked with DEC and they've modeled that out for us. So just real appreciative of them. They were between us and New York last week working with us, and they've been very responsive. So I'm going to turn it over to them at this time. Would you rather start with the models that work with the $460 million, or would you like to start with the $610 million first?
Let's move to the 610 first.
Okay.
Always good to know what we can do before if we have to move backwards.
All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Doug.
Mr. Chairman, members of the County Commission, thank you for inviting us back to discuss debt affordability and how it works in the county. I want to say one more time for people who may be new to the room, the staff is intimately involved in these discussions about how the debt affordability model works and how it moves forward. And we just appreciate their work and the work of the County Commission to deal with this.
Are we doing general government or education?
You want education first?
Yeah.
One other thing that I would say, especially since we have school folks still with us, we've modeled on a 2-year basis so that we don't go to the bond market every year. And so we modeled 24 months other than a 2027 and a 2036 that concludes it. We've done this based upon the cash flows provided. I will say to everyone in the room, these issuances must all be approved by the North Carolina Local Government Commission when it comes time to make those issuances.
Real quick, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Just for a point of reference, in our, if we want to look it up online, in our SharePoint, it's 17A or B?
B.
B. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Sorry. Go
And
ahead, sir.
you will see a different first column on that summary page. We did, DEC updated the value of a penny for us over the weekend, but that's the only, that doesn't
Okay.
affect the model, and that's the only change. That's what you looked at
Okay.
most recently.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. But back to each one of these, because of the form of debt that we're issuing, as we issue each of these issuances, we will have to have 70% of the project cost to be financed, bid, and ready for approval by the school board and the county commission. And so the cash flows work beautifully for this model. We just have to make sure that we have a 70% bid minimum in order to go to the local government commission. If we have a need and we have the 70, we may have to move this around some, and we're available to do that. As you know, you will see this model a minimum of once a year at budget time. You may see it as many other times as you wish, but we use the cash flows. We'll have to be flexible based upon bidding and other sorts of things.
In understanding our staffs work together to make sure we hit those timelines, and I'm comfortable with our staffs and the school board staff.
Exactly. Okay, Andrew, do you want to just go?
Yeah, so as Doug said, this may change a little bit as real life comes into effect, right? Sometimes bids take a little bit longer to get, or if you have some permitting problems. And so this is based on the pure cash flows that we receive from the school board. So the school model is essentially supported by the revenues that right now are, I guess I should look down here, dedicated to it. So you see it's mostly the education lottery monies that are coming in, school sales tax that comes in, and you have a couple of other revenues from some old financings that are falling off starting in this fiscal year. And so you'll see we have a new column here, which is essentially the transfers from the general fund. So the general model is transferring monies from that over into this model, which is almost all supported by some sort of property tax or just general revenues of the county. So essentially, these are the revenues that need to come over to support the full $610 million that could possibly be issued. And so you'll see in a couple of these, we kind of ramps up a little bit to a high of about $34 million a year needing to be transferred over before we hit the highs of what we have in the debt service. And then as that starts falling, you'll see that we need less and less transfer to come over. This, of course, helps us keep the model healthy in a certain sense. We do pin, as we said here, here's our coverage and our ultimate fund balances in the fund. So in the early years, we start higher as we have built some of that fund balance. And you'll see, even with transfers from the general government model, we will still be using some of the fund balance that we've accumulated from old past sales tax in these years. These are additional monies that we'll have to pay out of cash from the fund balance that's currently sitting here. And you'll see we get down to about a low, about $8.1 million in this particular model. So how does that translate? So we have to transfer. It's easier to look down here. We have to transfer these monies over from the general government model. So as we integrate this column into general government, we'll be able to show you what's actually needed as far as additional revenues. So this is what is needed just in a outside space, what would need to come into this model. But we integrate it into the general government model, which we've updated with the 265 and that additional 10 million. So we'll need to show the general government model to show the actual impact on what the cost would be as we integrate both these models together. So let me
Real quick, before you move to general government, I
Of
think
course.
we got a question. Understand you need to show that to show kind of how they're tied together. So
Yes.
before we go to that, commissioners' questions before we slip over that. I think we got a couple questions. Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank y'all for coming back and for giving us this good presentation. And I guess my question does kind of tie into the education model and the general government as a whole. So when you're saying transfer from the general fund starting in '29, I noticed, because apologies for reading ahead a little bit, but I noticed in FY '28 y'all are projecting additional $20 million in revenue coming into the general fund model. Would y'all expect that would either have to be done by raising taxes or by reducing the operating budget to achieve that funding?
Let me just say, Mr. Commissioner, we generally do not get into that. We get into the revenue need, and I don't know how all of that will work. It's just the revenue need.
And then the second part of that question, because I know we're still showing a considerable, by that time, we're still showing a considerable fund balance of cash on hand in our capital investment, our county capital investment fund. So we could take that additional need potentially out of that capital investment fund depending upon what the balance is there too, correct?
The model is very interesting because it's not purely arithmetic. I say that in front of a bunch of educational people, so don't slap me down. I went to Iredell County Schools, so I'm just going to say that to start with. If you use a lot from the fund balance on the front end, you lose on the back end. And while we did maintain in the general government model higher than our policy, when you add together all of the financings that are anticipated by the various models, it is a considerable number. And so we retained in the general government model a higher fund balance than 25% of the debt service or 50% of the debt service, in recognition that there's a lot of what-ifs in this. And we're looking not only at the model, but also the potential impacts of that model on the county's rating, its credit rating. And so that's really why we left a goodly amount. Now, as we said to you, every year as we look at this, then we'll be able to update you on how the actual cash flows have worked and all of that has occurred and make a determination if we can make changes.
And then one more question, Mr. Chairman. So, and I'm really glad you worked with our folks over at the Cumberland County Department of Education to kind of come up with, when we go out for debt and all that. And understanding that when you look at the issuance, I know it's over a 9-year fiscal period, but you're looking at almost a 10 calendar year period. So certainly, because this is a planning tool,
Yes, sir.
we could, this board or a future board, whoever is sitting in this seat, would have the flexibility as we go through to adjust and make changes as we work with our counterparts at the school board, should those needs change and should they have adjustments that they need to make to their plan.
That is correct. We also, and we told you this before, but for the larger group's benefit, we try to be conservative in financial assumptions inside this model, because it's never our desire to come back to you and say we overestimated, oops, you need more money. So not only would we look at annually how the assumptions have flowed through this model, but also how the actual expenditures have flowed through this model. The other thing I will point out, it's not on this page, but we've frozen PAYGO. With this goodly amount of investment in schools, we've frozen the PAYGO to $7.5 million on an annual basis. That's another reason that we feel that it's necessary that we maintain some comfortable fund balance over in the general government side.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it.
And just as a point of clarity, when we're talking the 7.5 PAYGO, that's their kind of consumables, is what we kind of call their consumables. So it doesn't have anything to do with the maintenance, it doesn't have anything, these are just consumables, and that's been the historical number, correct? And I know I'm looking at you, it's kind of their question, but I just want to make sure we're understanding, we all understand the 7.5.
Yes, sir, that's the purpose of that funding. It has been at higher levels because we've been doing more pay-go, but once we introduce the debt into the equation, then that pay-go will go down.
The 7.5 will go down.
The 7.5 is steady in the model once we start incurring debt. So. But it's less than what it has been. For example, last year it was a little over $20 million.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions before we move to look at the maintenance, the general government model and how it ties in?
Mr. Chairman, can I go back and see the 460 model?
Well, let us walk through my intent, Commissioner Adams, is to walk through the 610, show the general government, show how they're tied together, and then we'll move to the 460 model so that we're seeing everything.
The 17B on government, okay.
In its totality. 17A is 460, 17B is the 610. So if we can do that, Commissioner Adams, if that's okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
One more question, Mr. Chairman, just on this.
You're recognized, Commissioner Tyson, round two.
So, Superintendent Bracy's presentation, I know he was showing $300 million as kind of the placeholder for the deferred maintenance, and then it was showing with the plan, there would be $31 million in savings realized by the plan that the school board's looking to adopt. So, are we putting a little cushion? Is that why our numbers aren't quite jiving with what's on this presentation?
Well, to be honest, I just heard the 31 million this time.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
so I don't really know how they relate. We understand had been shown cash flows that add to 300 million over this time period. If we can reduce that by 35, we would do that, but I didn't sense they were the same.
So it's not indebted. the 31 million is going to be realized in the sense that there was $784 million worth of deferred maintenance. So they have a savings of 31 million. You still have a difference between the 300 million and the $784 million. That $31 million you're going to move forward in the priority. So the $31 million, $300 million of deferred maintenance, right? Total savings and required out of, right, is 31 million. So they're saving 31 million. Don't let me talk for you or jump up if I'm wrong, as Dr. Bracy said. So if we allocated 300 million against deferred maintenance, you had $784 million of needs.
Right.
There's, of those closing schools, you're not going to have to do $31 million of maintenance. So you're still going to do $300 million. It's just going to, that 31 million is going to cover some of that 784 million of the schools.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I assumed that 300 would be 331 if they didn't get the savings.
Correct. So it's just going to, you're basically, the priority list of their deferred maintenance is just going to move forward by 31 million. They're realizing an overall cost saving, so that 784 now is decreased by 31 million, but you still have $300 million of need up front. So if you take 31 from the 784, you're at what, 751? 752? So you still have $300 million of deferred maintenance of the 752 million.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Tracking?
No, I am. I just, yeah.
Maybe it was
I'm trying to reconcile this with what we approved last year, and that's why I was
Last year we approved
330 million, wasn't it?
300 million. 300 and 460.
With the 160 was the new school construction of
Correct.
that.
So it was 300 maintenance, 160 new construction, 300.
So I'm just trying to understand how this, I know the 700 was in the MGT plan, but what was allocated and what was requested last year wasn't the entirety of the MGT plan.
Correct. Yes, sir.
So that's why I'm trying to reconcile that.
There was 784 deferred maintenance in the deferred maintenance plan. By closing the schools they're closing and reallocating, it saves 31 million of that total $784 million of deferred maintenance.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner.
And I wasn't here, but I did see the school closures and the impact on this, because if you close them, I don't know what they're going to do with them. If they sell them and get that revenue, how does that fit into here?
So there's, again, it's part of the presentation they provided us.
I know, I wouldn't, yeah.
I know, but
I
it was
got
in
that
the.
right here.
No, I know, but it's in the documents that were provided. So those schools that are closed are coming back to us for $1.
All of them?
All of them.
Okay.
All of them.
I was just-
Yes, sir. And then we can, as a
Right.
board, we already told the
Yeah.
manager, we're going to build a task force, community development, economic development, Parks and Rec, and determine best use of those. We've already requested some of those.
I can sell some of them.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure it out.
And hopefully put some of them back on the tax rolls.
That'd be some revenue.
Hopefully, we're gonna put some of them on the
That's
tax
what-
rolls.
You sell them, you put them back on the revenue. on the-
Especially from an
on the-
economic development
Yeah.
standpoint. All right, that is not in the debt model.
I'm just trying to get my revenue, that's all. I'm just, okay, see, that's my revenue, I'm just
I
telling
think
you.
it speaks to
This
the
is why we want to circle back on the school bus thing too, but there's additional revenue. we can-
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
And I think that's-
Any other questions before we move to, let me make sure Vice Chairman Jones. Okay, well, let's go ahead and take a look at the general government, and then we'll move back to the 460 model.
I actually didn't have a question, I just had to,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Vice Chairman.
No, I was saying I just had to remove my hand, it looked up as if.
Oh, okay. We're going to move back to the general government.
Okay. So we're back to the general government model. Changes from our last updates, as we said, is we added the $265 million for the additional county facilities. You'll see we've issued that over just 3 tranches without having a real schedule on kind of when and where. We just kind of split it up into thirds, did it over a 6-year period starting in 2029. You'll see those debt issuances there coming into the model. You'll see where the county's pay-go projects also go down at this time period. We have a little couple of years of some projects we're doing now. So, the real question is then, how much does that really cost? And I would call this the rip the Band-Aid off model, right? So we could look at this a couple different ways. We could stagger in revenues if we wanted to, but if we were ripping the Band-Aid off now and wanted to do it and make sure we had the monies in the future, that's approximately $20.1 million. That would then, so your new number would be $39,361,000, and that would go at 3% a year. So you'll see both of those are growing at the same 3% year to get us into our assumptions we had from last time. This is the column that matches up with what was going into the school model. You'll see the 11 million, 12, we get up to 34 million here. So you'll see essentially the 20 million is completely taken up later by the 34 million that needs to be transferred over to the school model. So we are using some of the capacity that already existed in order to cover some. And then we also can't forget that the general model is still also supporting some water and sewer projects of approximately $120 million over the next 6 to 8 years as well. So again, if we get better information, that there's other revenues or monies there that could help us on all of this money. And again, as of now, what the math shows is about $20.1 million with a penny of approximately just over $4 million. And so we had a fund balance transfer of last year. I think we're about towards the end of that, probably hitting our targets and having, excess revenues. But again, those are things that could come into the model that could help us through board action into the future. So that's what this particular model shows. It supports the 265, it supports the 610, it supports 120 million for water and sewer as well. And then of course the Crown projects are all covered by their own money. So the 610, 265, and 120 is what we're up to on these 3 models.
I would just make one comment behind that. I love Andrew's rip the Band-Aid. The interesting thing is if we don't do it at one time, and I will say to you from a credit perspective, funding the entire plan now is a credit positive. If we were not to fund it at that level, what we had to fund later will go higher because you're making up ground. And so while it's do it all at one time, it's really the lowest sum of money that you'll have to spend, because if we defer, you'll have to raise money into the future to offset what we did not accumulate at this time period. So it's the lowest amount and would show full funding of the capital plan, which is a big positive.
Commissioners, I'll pause so we can get questions on the general government. One, or because it kind of flows into them all, and then we'll move to the 460 plan. Real quickly, questions. So we're looking at, in this model, what I think I heard is 3 cents of your tax rate is going towards well, it wouldn't just be school construction and maintenance. It would be a little bit less than that because you have taken out the water piece of it. Is that about accurate?
That's about right.
So when we look at our 49-cent tax rate, 3 cents of that is going towards
Approximately a little bit over $12 million.
So 3 cents. I'm just trying to make it. And 3 cents is going against the debt for us to invest in education. So 3 cents out of your 49 cent per 100 is going towards education. Okay. Oh, at least
For the debt.
For the debt.
Because that doesn't
Building and
include
maintenance.
Yeah, right. Because the rest of it comes from.
We can factor that. We
Gotcha.
can factor the
Mhm.
operational piece out. That's
Right.
another, small amount. Okay, I'll open up for questions. Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I think you answered it. So in the model, you're assuming basically zero fund balance policy transfer in future fiscal years. So if we were really to project out and say conservatively it was going to be at the same level potentially, you're not looking at a huge gap in terms of the new money needed, depending upon what that fund balance transfer would be in that fiscal year.
I think it ultimately comes down to, that would be a one year, it kind of flows down to the next year and we'd have to make up that revenue. But yes, anything that pops up out of here in the model that we don't count, because obviously I don't want to project into the future how future budgets may perform or not, all of this would help the model. So as you said before, This is a cost number. It doesn't all have to come from property taxes. It can come from savings, and come from land sales, it can come from any other different lawful sources of the county to make up those monies. So yes, anything that comes in here would help us out and help reduce possibly what money is needed. But you'll see, we need approximately $20 million every year into the future, growing at 3% in order to pay the bills, because they start getting high once all the debt is fully encumbered. And as Doug mentioned before, on the summary page, we do like to keep a healthy fund balance, because the general government fund balance ultimately supports all the other models, right? And so as the other ones get thinner, this is the one we would come to if needed. And you'll still see there are a good number of years where we're going to have to use the fund balance we've also built up here. So there's going to be fund balance used from the school model, fund balance used from this model, and probably fund balance, I think the water and sewer one kind of pays for itself one-to-one. But you'll see here in the future, we'll need those monies to be able to keep, maintain a healthy fund balance, so that once we have issued all this money, the 610, the 265, and the 120, we'll have a nice healthy fund balance to firm the credit rating of the county.
One other thing I would say, Commissioners, essentially, this model funds new schools and county assets essentially for 20 years without any growth in capacity, unless new revenues are added. And so basically, because this is a significant program and one that's good for the community, many would say, it does consume a considerable portion. Another reason to say, what if PAYGO here or in the school model needs to be amended? The only place we get it is to increase revenues in that year or go here. And so that's another reason, I think, to maintain a pool of money that will have to inhibit one-time decisions. Or bring about, not inhibit, bring about one-time decisions.
But it's fair to say that if we're doing our job correctly, the fund balance transfer would never be zero. So we will be, if we're doing our job right, recapturing some money to transfer from our general fund balance over to our capital.
Correct. And the other thing, Commissioners, I would say, most of the models we do for many of our clients forecast only growth. It's amazing, the other reason we like this number. What if we had 2 years of no growth in sales tax because of a recession? We've had them, by the way. The most productive sales tax producer in this state is Mecklenburg County. It's had down years. And so the other thing that I think we really keep the numbers tight here is to make sure that if we have those things occur between now and the years we're talking about, that will give us some basis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I don't like forecasting downtimes, because when you do, they come true. I just want to make sure that we have equity to overcome them.
Yes, and we help hedge against that by doing a little bit less growth level than we're actually seeing, so that we can hopefully capture maybe a little bit of downtime and not overrun our revenues. But again, every year as the planning tool, we tick and tie this to ACFR, to actuals, and then create new projections from there. So as times change, we change with them.
Can we go back to the revenue slide real quick? Commissioners, other questions around this before we move to the 460? So with the new money needed, as you're calling it, that line, the additional funding of the capital investment fund, those, I guess I'm kind of looking at our finance team. What does that move that percentage to? I know we're saying we can get that money from anywhere, but let's just make the assumptions, because we're shifting that money.
We're essentially doubling
Okay.
what you're currently contributing out of the general fund.
And that number is, I'm trying to remember
What is it?
So
18 million.
18,
but there's a percentage. Didn't we create a formula?
Yeah, we
create a baseline with a formula.
3%
Okay.
or less of February of each of the CPI.
Okay. All right.
And that's why you see that growth that starts in 2027.
Okay.
Yeah, and let me say this, and I've said this to you before, and it isn't meant to be too kind. It was a great decision to do that, because had we not built growth coming over, that 20 would have been a good bit more than 20.
Commissioner Faircloth's going to take credit for it, but that's great.
Thank you, Commissioner Faircloth.
I'll give you the credit. There you go.
Mr. Chairman, while I've been called out for the second time today, I would say that your comment about Mecklenburg going, when it goes south, everybody goes south. Well, that didn't happen in the recession the last non-COVID recession that we had was back in 2008. Cumberland was number one and Onslow was number two, and I'll let you draw your own conclusion as to why.
Right.
Commissioners, other questions on this before we move to the 460? I was giving you a positive comment there, Commissioner Faircloth. All right. County Manager, anything on this before we move to it? And then, once we've walked through both models, love to get thoughts on both models and pros and cons.
While Andrew's going there, Mr. Chairman, these models are pretty inclusive, and they are somewhat mathematically not simple, and that's why I appreciate y'all asking the questions about them, because here again, these models aren't exactly 1 + 1 = 2.
So this is the 460 model. The biggest changes are coming kind of in this mid-time period because it does not include the other schools and such. And so we have some smaller projects, building some schools and some other maintenance projects off into the future. This is the 460 spend, so very similar to the other one, just less than 150 million. You'll see on the revenue tab, all of this is very similar to the last tab, except for what is needed to be transferred over. And so you'll see these numbers start off smaller, right? In order to support the debt service that's coming in, we get to a high of about 20 million rather than that 30-ish million number we were at before. Let's go touchscreen before it starts going down. And so you'll see all of these revenues are exactly the same: school sales tax and education lottery, and then our transfer over here. And of course, again, they're integrated into the model, so it now goes back over to the general government model in order to fund through the general government model. But essentially, that's all that's changed between the 610 and the 460 model. It's just the issuance timings. Bring up the general government.
Real quick before
sorry.
you move, we got questions on the 460. Commissioner Tyson, you recognize.
Thank you. And so based on your experience, both with us and your other clients, how much fluctuation do you normally see kind of in the interest rate as we go to the debt issuance? And for one, and if there is a variation, how much could that kind of affect the model as we look to go out with these tranches?
Yeah, so currently we are running at 5% interest rates into the future. That has been a very good estimate for the past 10, 15, 20 years. That's what we've been using. We are currently at probably the low 4s right now for 20% money. So we're still 75-ish bips ahead of where the current market is. Again, as I said before, as times change, if we start seeing rates ticking up and staying there, we would adjust the model. 5% has done us well. So when we actually do an issuance, it is my hope at the end of the day, knock on wood, that when we put in the final numbers, we now have a little bit more capacity than we had before because we had overestimated a little bit of our cost. That helps make sure that we can do what we can do within the money, and then when actual numbers come in, we have a little bit more gravy in the pot to be able to reprogram in and possibly offset additional costs into the future. So it is always my job that actuals come in lower than we have projected. But if rates start ticking up and staying there, we might have to adjust to a 5 1/4 rate just to make sure that y'all are staying within the tolerance level so that what we say you can do, you can do. Because the worst thing we could do is say this is how much it's going to cost and then come back and say, oops, it needs to cost a little bit more, right?
Let me say something as the senior member of the firm and the one that's been doing this a pretty long time. It isn't the interest rates that drive this model, and I know saying that almost sounds wrong. What drives this model is how rapidly you spend the money. And so that's why we'll constantly be reassessing for you how I think listen, I said, school folks, give us the cash flows on a quarterly basis because I knew it was a lot. They gave it to us by the month. Congratulations. Good job. But the point is, that's constantly has to be reviewed. And we all want it to come as rapidly as we can. My observation in the past has been it's generally somewhat slower than the initial estimates because you don't know about construction markets, you don't know about any of that. But I would rather have them at this level and be a little slower than have to go faster because then we'd have to come back to you with an oops. So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioners, questions on this piece of the looking at 460 model? Commissioner Adams, you're recognized.
Can I ask why we going to June of 44 on this one and only went to June of 41 on the other one, on the 610? That would be my first question.
you mean on the ends?
Yeah.
An oops?
Just trying to figure it out.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, Mr.
Okay, that's
Manager?
fine.
We added the general government model for the facilities of 265, so that spreads it out another 3 years.
It was in the other one too, but anyway. But on this one,
We put that to see if you
I
would
was paying
find
attention,
it,
right? Yeah, okay.
and you found it.
Just to make sure I understand this, so out of the 460, the transfer out of the general fund, what you got conservatively is about is much less. It's about $8 million less per year when we have to start doing that. And so a lot of it depends, again, I guess, on how fast we spend it as to whether we need to be, and we can't forecast the future in terms of sales tax, or if they do property tax, but you get to the same level in terms of these Junes doing the 3 million, it's just that you're basically doing 460 as opposed to 610 up front.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with, and this model especially, as we say, pinning to our tolerance level here. You know, I adjust the revenues that are needed in order for us to hit these particular coverages. So I adjust them so that that's why we have a lot of red here for about 10 years. We're hitting just at that lowest level. So our delta here in the school model is only about $6.9 million. You know, that's kind of our delta. If we increase revenue, if we increase pay-go by $3 million 1 year, well, that's gone down to now $3.9 million. So you'll see how we don't have a lot of wiggle room on this side, which goes back to why the general government side has a little bit higher fund balance so that we can deal with the wiggle rooms in the other models as we keep them very tight to particular, because a lot of the revenue is coming from the general government side.
And I guess, another question.
Serious question.
So then basically, if we do the 460, which is the 3 million out, and you're not building at the level that you build at, you basically can come back in, or you build in that pace or faster, you can come back in and change the numbers, because we're only doing it every 2 years, right? We're going out for debt about every 2 years. So on that level, you keep more in your general fund balance than you do in this model right here.
Right. That's correct, Commissioner. The other thing I will say that is a big unknown here, and here again back to the guy that's been doing this quite a few years, is we really can't project in the construction industry what's going to happen with inflationary trends. I pray there aren't any, but we also don't know that. And so that's another wedge here. We've got 3 if we bid fewer projects, but they come in 5% higher because of some trend. Here again, that's why I say, you ought to think it's 460 to 610, so all these numbers ought to be the same percent increase, right? If you're doing pure, simple mathematics, it's not that. It depends on how fast it all comes out. And so, and that's why I really appreciate Robin and yourselves, for that matter, looking at this model to understand that it's very timing based.
Yeah, like Doug said, moving a project 6 months to a year will have much more of an impact on this model than the interest rate. And so really, it's about timing, timing, timing. So we are a little aggressive on the timing now so that we can cover it, but we hope the timing's smaller. And y'all set budgets every year, right? So the budget can be changed and set as needed as real life comes into play here.
And just one more comment on that. The first year, we actually have 2 years in a row that we go out for debt, 27, 28, and then it picks up on the every 2 years after that. So there is that 1 year that's a little bit of an anomaly. But also in 2027, the school is doing a lot of planning for the 2 projects that they want to start with. If you do the entire 16, it would be E. Smith and J.W. Kuhn. And we would need to do a reimbursement resolution, which I hope we'll have some discussion around that today as well, because we won't go out to debt at that point. We'll be working with them through a reimbursement resolution so they can do their planning that year. So we'll know more after they get through that planning, kind of the timing of the rest of it.
Robin, that's an excellent point. Another thing just having to think about, having healthy fund balances also allow you to do the planning and such upfront in cash, and then be reimbursed when you actually do the financing, and you're not trying to look and hunt for the planning money that will then be re-put back into the pot once it's redone, and then it gives you more planning into the future. We had mentioned that possibly some of our other clients have created just a planning money bucket, and so different ways of looking at it, but essentially your fund balances are what creates you being able to have that.
Commissioner Adams.
So, and I guess my last question, I'm that guy, is that when you're talking about the transfer into the general fund, so you don't start till 29, and I know that's when they want to build. Why wouldn't we start a little bit earlier, putting some in there to have that cushion that we're talking about?
We've assumed that the new revenue comes in fiscal '28.
Why not 27?
The issuance may be done in calendar 27, that is fiscal 28.
That's right.
So I think we're assuming late in the year in 2027 is when it'll be issued, but that is technically fiscal 27, 28. And so that's the money that would come in.
But I'm saying, we could this year put some money in there. I mean, which then cuts down how much, not just that 3 million, even on the 11, it will cut down in terms of what you would have to put down. I don't see putting that off.
Mr. Commissioner,
unless we just don't have any money, that's another.
We did it for a year only because it's a big program with a lot of ins and outs, and that gave some extra planning time, but it's your decision on timing.
Correct.
Other than we need the money when we're going to start spending it, so.
But also to clarify on that point, this is you're showing the school model.
Correct.
Right.
So we're funding into the general government model. So we're funding that each year. This is just what's flown over into this fund.
Correct. We assume the general government model for
Correct.
fiscal 28 is when new revenue starts coming in, but technically we wouldn't.
When we haven't shown you that number yet, that number's 11 million.
Right.
But in 28, they're still healthy with their fund balance because we hadn't really issued any in the debt.
Correct.
So this was the first year that debt was going to start hitting, and they needed a little bit.
I just want to, we fund into the general government, and then the general government flows to the water or infrastructure fund and the school fund.
Right.
Correct.
Just kind of keeping that, and the general government will have our own facility maintenance there. Commissioner Adams, anything?
I'm good.
Okay. Commissioner Tyson, round 2.
So,
I'm sorry, Commissioner Tyson. Commissioner Patel.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's my fault.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I have a question. So if we theoretically started the fund, we go with the 460 program, and then ideally construction is happening a lot quicker than we anticipate, and have to shift towards the 610 model. Do you know what the delta on that would be from the fund transfers from the general fund? If given maybe 4 years in, we have to ramp up?
Well, when you haven't seen the model yet, but to do the 460 at the time periods that were provided, it takes a bit over $11 million. So there's an $8 million difference.
Okay.
So I think, Commissioner, I'm understanding the question is we started with that and then brought the other part of the 150, which gets us from 460 to 610, brought that in later. what would that do in those, between those two numbers? Because timing is everything, we'd have to make some assumptions on timing. And we're pleased to do that. If y'all, here again, don't want to get ahead of you in the timing. If you tell us the wins and hows, we can run that for you. But it would create, if you start at the 11 million funding as contrasted to the $20 million funding, and you move something in the middle, obviously that can all be calculated.
Thank you.
Is there an action there that you want to see?
No, I'm messing.
Sorry, Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank
Sorry.
you. And kind of going back to the revenue side, I guess my question is this. So you're showing the 17,295 fund balance transfer from FY25, but I didn't see that there was anything for FY26. And then if we approve the manager's recommended budget with the fund balance transfer for FY27, have you included those revenues yet into the model?
So the 17,295,066, that was based on the 2025 fiscal year end audit. We would not know what our transfer capability will be for 2026 until we finish the audit and we have all those numbers. So it kind of happens a year after the fact.
Follow up. But we do have an estimate at this point, I would think, wouldn't we?
I have not attempted that.
Deal with the reappropriations of next year that would be backed off of that number that
Gotcha.
comes out based on the audit.
I got you. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good question, Commissioner Tyson.
Commissioners, other questions? So, a couple things. We got two models, 460, 610. We appreciate, one thing I just want to, because we're talking debt models, these are planning tools. I just want to make sure, because I know, just to be clear, the one thing that our staffs have worked together on is the school system is provide, based on the plan that the school board approved, they provided the cash flow model that they would need for cash, that we would make sure they had the cash on hand to do what they needed to do. That's built into our debt model. The debt model doesn't speak to how we provide revenue to them, that's staff to staff, but we've projected that based on the ask that the school board has done. So they will have the cash when they need it to deliver on the projects. The question is, can they keep up with the projects? Which, that was a tongue-in-cheek comment, but I just want to make sure we're clarifying. Planning document compared to the cash flow, which they provided us, they will have the cash they need to execute on the program, on the projects as they need it, and we'll do reconciliation along the way as you talked about. So board, we've got two models. It's a lot to digest. I'm sure we'll have some information. What I'd like to do is kind of take a breath on this. I know we have to make some decisions on the model. We've got a series of meetings this week. I'd like to give the board, a breath to see if they have any questions that they can email in based on these two models, and then come back in the next day or so and give direction to the board on 610 or 460. But before we move on to that, now that I've gotten the questions, I'd like to hear, based on our financial position and the amount of debt that we would put out there, both from our financial advisors, and thoughts on both, maybe not, you don't have to opine too long, but you made some comments around, doing on the 610 model, having that money up front and allocating. I'd just like to hear your thoughts on both models, maybe the risks, the pros, the cons, and then County Manager, if you have anything you want to add in.
You want to go first?
I'll let him go last. I'll let you go first.
He comes in last and cleans up anything we said wrong.
That's why I say he's going to go last.
Well, let me say this, Mr. Chairman and Board. The county does not now have a lot of debt. And so that leaves some capacities. You see it in the models as the pay downs, they're not significant. And so there's a side of me that would say to you, looking for investments in the community, that is a rating positive. It is, to invest in your community. I think we're going to know a whole lot more in a year or two as we see how rapidly the projects are moving. I would also say to you that you can make a full decision on 460 and a full decision on 610, or you can decide that you're going to decide on one and 2 years later revisit the remainder. I mean, that is at your option. And we will know a whole lot more about the cash flows. I think the important thing is a well-done model will be funded when we know.
That's right. County Manager Greer.
I would just add, this is, as everyone said, this is a planning tool, but it's a good guide. Both staffs have been working well. I think as we move forward, we'll probably have DEC in quarterly on a quarterly basis to go over these things, and then also provide periodic updates from staff. But there's a lot of, although we have it pretty precise and a good planning tool, we don't know what the economic conditions will be. We don't know certain things. So as we move forward, there is a lot of projects in the Sand Hills that are going on that are anticipated. So we also have potential what contractors can get it done. Not saying it's over ambitious, but I would say is that we probably won't issue everything as fast as we think we may. We may say every 2 years, it may be every 3 years, or maybe every 4. It just depends on how the projects move and what's able to be done. So I'm optimistic based on the conversations we've had with CCS that we'll move forward in a positive direction. I think this is a good start along with DEC. And I'm looking forward to the future because, like I said, I think we're moving in the right direction with the conversation.
For both the 610 and the 460.
For both the 610 and the 460. I think just based on the information that CCS has provided us in the initial schools that they want to try to get done, I think we can accommodate that.
Okay. All right, board, I think that's a good way for us to kind of bring pause to this portion on general government and the education debt model. Again, if you have questions, and this is a lot of information and this is very complex, but I will just say, this is what this board's supposed to do and make these kind of investments that we need to make. So if you have questions around it, please get offline with the staff and they'll get you the answers that you need. And then over the next couple of days, we can make some decisions and directions to give. And just remember, again, as Commissioner Tyson alluded to, future boards, we're going to try to do some, once debt's issue is a different thing, but, boards can only commit certain boards. So, but a lot of information, but as we look to how we prioritize the taxpayers' dollars, one thing that we're charged with is education, health and human services, and public safety in our infrastructure, which we know we have to look at. So we have some balancing to do, and appreciate the staff's work, appreciate the school board's work, the school board and their staff's work on this as well. So with that, we'll go ahead and move forward to item 5. Cybersecurity, County Manager Greer, Commissioner Adams will brief.
Yes, Daniel Rista, ITS Director, will present this item and give an update and a request.
I will say I did get my internet, so hey, I'm halfway there.
That's all.
That's all it took.
And board, if you need to break, we're going to go ahead and keep moving because I'm going to still try to focus on getting this out of here by 3:30.
Please.
So, go ahead, sir.
All right, good afternoon, and thank you for having me back. I've brought back the request to establish a dedicated cybersecurity line, and this would help strengthen Cumberland County's cybersecurity posture and enhance the ability to respond effectively to those evolving threats and security requirements. So based on past years' experiences and the increasing threat complexities that are out there, I'm asking that this request be at the amount of $150,000. This allocation will provide flexibility to address those unplanned cybersecurity needs throughout the fiscal year. And as you know, that most of these needs are always unexpected, they're 0-day, and they always require immediate attention. So kind of what I put together, I just kind of listed some potential uses of these dollars, and I just wanted to highlight a couple of them. One being the training and awareness programs. Those are very important. Educated workforce is vital in cybersecurity. The phishing simulations, those always keep staff engaged and vigilant. Once they kind of been through that, they're kind of scared to click on things. And we're not trying to scare people, we're just trying to keep people aware. Emergency remediations are always important. And then lastly, security monitoring and threat detection enhancements. So as new threats emerge and they change and evolve and become different kinds of threats, well, the monitoring tools we use also have to change and also have to evolve with them. Sometimes those tools may present that to us as another add-on or some new feature or enhancement, and sometimes dollars are attached to those. And so I just put a couple quick stats up here just to kind of put some of this in perspective. We just took a random day, last Monday, the 3rd, and we said, how many attacks did we get on that day? And it was almost 9,000 attacks on our systems just on Monday alone, which was no special day, just a random day. We see that number go way up during holidays, elections, special events. It goes into the double digits. The other number that's important up here is 35. So 35 is the number of potential compromises that we've caught and remediated with protocols that we have in place now. Those are from January to now. And when I say potential compromise, that means that staff or user actually interacted with whatever the threat was. Maybe they clicked on a link, went to a fake website and entered their credentials in there. Or maybe they downloaded a compromised attachment and put it on their computer. Sometimes, I know now with the dual factor authentication, we have some people that may have received authorization links and they approve them, but not really knowing what they're approving. And so that's what I mean by compromises. We were able to catch these and remediate them, but for every one of these, they require immediate investigation, going into them, and then immediate response. So that's really the bulk of what I wanted to kind of present to you guys today. It's kind of like you always hear. The question's not, are we going to get hit with cybersecurity attacks? We do every day, constantly, all day long. I guess the big question is, are you prepared to handle those adequately whenever you receive them? So that's kind of what I want to present today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have.
County Manager, anything to add?
We're probably, and I will not go wood before I say this, we're probably real intense about cybersecurity. But again, if we had the additional funding, we could do a lot more to security. And let me just say this. One who's probably a technology geek about this stuff, Daniel's probably echoing the same thing I would say 3 times.
So before I open up for questions, $150,000 one-time ask is what we're looking for. So I'm just to be clear. Okay, I'll open up for questions, commissioners. Commissioner Adams, you're recognized.
So let me ask you, so are all our departments on our mainframe such that if you at the Sheriff's Department or over at DSS or the Health Department and they get theirs, because they got IT people too, so, but are they linked into the mainframe?
Well, we've kind of, when you say mainframe, we talking about our...
to our main server.
So we have
our main server.
So,
our main server.
Years back, we had multiple data centers all around the county. So what we've been working to do is consolidate those, so we don't have as big a footprint. Yes, we're all on this kind of the same network, but we do have, the sheriff's office is kind of a little bit separated from us. Everyone else is together. We have everybody else's.
So is my finance into that same one?
Yes.
Is there a way to separate on that? So we do get one of those that they don't get into certain systems.
Yeah, so we do segregate certain ones on our networks.
Right.
We segregate them off. As these things come up, then we we put them by themselves where they can't access anything. We also have things in place where maybe this system can only access this particular thing.
Okay.
So there are
Those safeguards, okay.
yeah.
I just thought 150 was kind of low, but anyway.
County manager.
And the funding for this is in the capital investment fund, not in the general fund.
So we're looking,
It's already in there, though.
no, you're asking an additional request.
Additional.
Yeah.
But it would be funded out of the capital investment
Right.
fund, not the general
Right.
fund, operating fund.
Right. Commissioners, other questions on this? We want to move this over into our funding parking lot where we can make decisions on that going forward. You're gonna have to.
I'm just gonna give the 150.
If you're finding 150, you're gonna have to, if you're
Yeah.
giving 150, you're gonna have to find 150. So again, we'll just, if everybody's good, we'll put it in the parking lot and then make some final decisions as we go forward. I don't think there's any issues, but it's just a way to tackle these requests as we move. Because I'm sure as we start moving into the operational side, we're gonna have a lot more requests. And programs, Commissioner Adams, you're gonna have to make some decisions. All right, anything else on this? All right, thank you.
Right, thank you.
And we'll go ahead and move forward to other funds, and we'll start with fire and recreation. Is that correct? I'm
Yes,
sorry. Yep.
yes, Chairman, Robin Coontz, Chief Financial Officer, will provide the update and discuss, along with Liz Cherry, Senior Accountant, with the Finance Department, will discuss fire and the recreation tax and answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. So I have Liz Cherry with me here today. She's our financial accountant and systems administrator and works very closely with the accounting for our fire district and recreation tax district, so she's here for support. She's great at what she does, so, and y'all know how complicated all the fire calculations are. But the district rates are not changing for either fire district or the recreation districts, 15 cents for fire and 5 cents for the recreation tax. The decision points that are a little bit different this year that we haven't necessarily had in prior years. If you'll recall, there was a period of time where the Westover Fire District, West Area, we're talking about schools, I got schools in my head, West Area Fire District was covering service in Manchester. So we're at a point now where West Area will no longer be doing that, beginning July 1, and Manchester will take that back over. So there's a contract that we plan to enter into with Manchester to pay them a flat annual rate of $688,000 to take that responsibility back. Having said that, West Area had purchased some equipment and hired some staff because this was going to be initially a three-year contract, but it didn't go that long. They've purchased some things and they have requested reimbursement from the county at the amount of $1,052,620 over 3 years. And we have had some discussion in trying to prepare for that. And the recommendation that came out of that was a 3-year payment to West Area at $150,000. So that's one item of consideration. Additionally, out of the 15-cent tax, there's about 1.25 of it that goes to low wealth districts. We currently have 4 low wealth districts. We had 5, but we're at 4 now. We had gone into the planning process for this year assuming that we were not going to pay any additional low wealth. We have done that in the prior years. But there's been some feedback on that, and so it was suggested that we take another look at that. Normally the additional low wealth was paid at a rate of $82,963. And right now, in what the districts have seen, they saw their budgets without the additional low wealth in it. So when they're looking at this year compared to last year, some of them are seeing some decreases. In that time, we were still including Spring Lake. When those calculations were done, we were including Spring Lake in the Well Oaks calculations, but we've pulled them out because they've agreed to a contract of $688. So there are no districts at this point in time who will be receiving any less in the budget this year as compared to 2020 26 budget, with the exception of Godwin Falcon. Godwin Falcon is seeing a decrease of $68,067, and that is because Godwin Falcon has some other income that comes in from, I think, Sampson County and Harnett County that makes them a little less eligible for some of the low wealth money. So the decision point on low wealth is we had some fund balance that we have used, done several projects with this year. The communication software that was purchased to communicate with EMS, and then also there's been 2 mobile command units and then some upgrades to one of those. So the fund balance is coming down, which was the intent of our board, I think, and also Chief Johnson. But so we were trying to decide, was there anything that we could do for one more year to give a little bit of extra money to the districts just while they're in this, change situation where they're going from no additional low wealth to low wealth. So we have the option there of either doing a low wealth one more year for all 13 districts at the rate of $35,000 this year, or we step back and we say we'll just do the low wealth for the low wealth districts. And there's 4 of those. So that's, to me, and walk away from here unless there's anything else you want to change that's kind of been in the norm for a while, is what do we want to do with West area? And then number 2, how do we want to handle the additional low wealth this last year, with the assumption that it'll go away after 2027 budget period.
Anything else for, open up for a question?
No, sir.
So really 2 decision points around West area and then the low wealth, which you kind of made your recommendation, or not recommendation, but excuse me, let me not use that word.
Some options.
Yeah, you've given us 2 options, thank you. Commissioners, questions? Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I was wondering, didn't we already award the 150? I thought we had previously.
We did, but we have to include it in here, in the contract.
Did the board take action on that?
Yes.
Okay.
So that, as far as that goes, Mr. Chair, I think that question, we've already answered, haven't we? Okay. And then, under 2, if we just included the departments that were eligible for the low wealth, what would that have as far as an impact on our balance that's currently in that?
So rather than doing 35,000, which is kind of what, with Liz and her looking at where we were, she said we could do that and keep that little bit of fund balance we want to maintain. If we flip that and just pay the 82,963 to the 4 districts that are low wealth, it'll save us about $100,000, then spreading it across all 13 at the rate of $35,000.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So board, I guess the one question we have to determine is, are we going to continue to fund the low wealth departments at the same rate we had, which would be the final year that we do this with the 4 districts where we look at all 13, or 13, not all, but there's 13 districts. Board, any other questions on fire district or recreation district?
Okay.
Commissioner Adams, recognized.
So, because we did those 2 mobile units, if they come in a little bit higher or something, whatever, or they need some more resources, if we leave that money in fund balance, can we use that to offset that? So instead of doing the 35 across the board, that helps everybody a little bit more than trying to just give everybody a little bit of money. So we can use that for those kind of things.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. I think that would be, in my estimation, I think that's probably a better way to do it. We don't know what they're going to come in at and whatever resources and all of that. So I would hold back the 35 and use that for some of that other stuff that we may need. Thank you.
Any other comments? So Commissioner Tyson.
I'd just say I would agree, Mr. Chair. I think we do the 4 instead of all of them, and I think that would be a sensible plan, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
So what I'm hearing, to give direction, again, we'll vote on it for the final, but to give direction, maintain the two tax rates. On the low wealth, we award the 4 departments, 84 plus K, as we've previously done,
Yes, sir.
and make sure they understand
Last year.
last year of Lowell.
82,963.
82,000, excuse me. Board, we okay with that direction? Okay. Anything else on these two items?
No, unless there was anything that you wanted to discuss on the recreation tax. We have not reached out to talk about any new capital projects in the recreation district. So the only thing that we still collect the 5 cent, and if anything changed that y'all wanted to do later on, you could let us know, I guess, at that point in time.
So Commissioner Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on the recreation side, and this may be directed at the attorney, I'm not sure, under our current agreement, would the additional revenue still pass straight through, or are we able to capture any of that?
It's always been 5 cents, but it doesn't have a rate set in it. So it just reads that it would be whatever passed through, yes.
So whatever we collect per our current interlocal agreement has to be passed on. We can't retain any of that.
Well, that's what the agreement says, but have we ever withheld some from, I thought we used to withhold some. Is that not true?
We have some that we maintain that we've committed to the capital projects, but other than that, it's passed through. We had been collecting money all year like we always do. We normally start paying them some chunks after the big tax collection period. We held out a little bit longer this year as everybody was working through some of that, but we did just recently release everything to City of Fayetteville that would normally have been released in any other year. Probably about, I guess, 2 weeks ago. About 2 weeks ago.
So, Mr. Chair, I just, wonder if we would want to look at a certain amount of that retainage as we're looking at certain projects and priorities that we would have for the capital improvements in the district. Is that something that, we would want as a board to consider?
So, a couple things on that, and I was going to try to frame it up a little bit. So, board recall, we've given the City of Fayetteville a letter that's outlined some how we would move forward. That would shift how we look at the district, how we look at a service agreement versus an interlocal fund, how those funds are captured and maintained. They've gotten to the end of this month. I had some conversations, as I've told you all, with Mayor Colvin last week, just to continue to move that process along and get a better understanding of where they are, gave them some clarity on what we needed. We still need, as we look at it, capital investment, we still need to understand we've got the prioritization from the district based on the last briefing that Assistant Manager Phillips gave us, but we don't have the O&M cost on those and when they would come online and when they'd be constructed based on priority. So there's still a little bit of due out. So I think no matter how we move forward, there's going to be some modifications to even the existing agreement because we need to clarify the use of funds and how those funds are moved. So that's a long answer to say yes. I think we would have to do that because in our discussions, we need to ensure that we clarify the use of district funds.
And Mr. Chair, I guess the reason I kind of raised this as an issue, I know we just got done kind of going through our debt models and we saw kind of where we are with some of the planned projects we have, which are very important. But I also know, we've been working on some other things that the community has told us is a priority, like our aquatic center, and we haven't really identified how we're going to fund that completely. And I understand we're at the initial phases of that project, but I just want to know, could that be an option where some of this money could be retained specifically for that project and understanding so we're not putting such pressure on our debt model?
So a couple things to that, Commissioner Tyson. One, feasibility study will help us understand what that financial stack is on how we're going to pay for it. There's a lot of different ways. It could be they come back and say it's all private. It could be driven by private. We just need to put the infrastructure in. We'll see what that looks like. So that's kind of hard to forecast. And second, that won't be a district asset. That's going to be a county asset. Correct me if I'm wrong, attorney. And therefore, we can't use district dollars against that. which is part of what we, through this process, have, as we look at things like Arnett Park and those kind of things, they're county assets. So we wouldn't be able to use district dollars for it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Other questions on this? Is that, we good on the direction or any additional information on the recreation tax or the fire district tax? All right, I think we are good. We will move, I have solid waste.
Solid Waste Crown, I think is pretty simple.
We'll probably get through one more because I want to be respectful. Who do we need to move through?
We'll go through the Crown since the Crown staff came, in case there was any questions.
Yeah, let's do the crown.
Okay.
All right.
And the Assistant County Manager Clay Phillips will present this item.
Thank you.
And we also have Seth Bernard here from the Oakview Group to provide context also.
Thank you, County Manager Greer. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you to the team from OVG for being here. Also, thank you to Donna Griffin-Rice from Engineering for being here for any questions, as well as Amanda Lee is here in the building as well. Just going to be really brief about our Crown Complex CIP. So the projects that we have underway, we have 5 completed projects that started in fiscal year 2022 and went onward. A total of almost $3 million were spent on those projects. We have 15 projects in various stages of progress. They began in fiscal year 21 and onward. We have spent approximately $7.1 million, and we have approximately $7.3 remaining. Now, as I did with our county CIP, I'll go through the projects. If you have any questions, we'll stop and talk about the individual projects. So first, we have completed projects here. Our 5 completed projects with the Crown. And if not, I'll continue on. All right, here with our projects in progress. This is our first set of projects in progress with the Crown. Are there any questions on these? I'll continue on. Second slide of projects in progress with the Crown.
And Assistant Manager Phillips, this information that was previously uploaded, nothing's been changed to what was presented?
No, sir.
Okay.
And just to note, this information, so the amounts of money and the status is current as of the middle of last week when I was preparing the presentation. All right, I'll continue on. And then this is our final page of projects in progress. And you can see that projects range anywhere from construction in progress to the bidding process. All right, I'll move on. All right, so with our recommended, this is the same that was uploaded in page 76 of your recommended document. There was a meeting that took place to put these projects together that had members of OVG, members of our engineering and management and budget teams. And so as you can see here, there are several projects that are recommended in fiscal year 27. And we can try to answer any questions about those projects that you may have. I'll keep going. Again, there are more projects here. We had to break it into 2 slides. It is in page 76 of your document. So approximately $2.4 million of CIP projects recommended, or sorry, $2.5 million recommended for fiscal year 27, in addition to the ones in progress.
We've got a quick question. Commissioner Patel, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. ACM Phillips, is the elevator in the office on this CIP?
So that's the elevator that's in progress. And so from my understanding, that elevator work will be done in July. I'm looking at Donna to nod at me. So work will be going to that. Is actually one of our in progress projects. So that is elevator. Sorry, I promise it's going back. So we took the contract forward. And so it's in process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank you. Is priority 12, the basketball equipment replacement, does that include the flooring system that we had talked about in the past over at the arena that was in bad shape? Is that what that number is?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioners, any other questions before we keep moving forward? Okay.
Additionally, there is one Ford F-150 that is recommended for the Crown Complex, and I can answer any questions that you may have about that.
That vehicle is over 20 years old.
What is that vehicle for?
I'll turn to our team at OVG to answer that question. Seth, do you want to come up to the mic?
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
So we have a current F-150 at the complex that is approximately 20-plus years old, and I don't know that it's road safe anymore. When we send it in for its work through the shop, they recommend us to not drive it. So we use that to get materials around the complex. So if we have stuff in the expo that needs to get to the arena or the theater or back to the Coliseum, and to get materials around the complex, or if we have to take trips to Lowe's or Bell's or other places around the county, pick up gas and natural gas, things like that for shows. That's the vehicle that we use. We have the stake bed as well, which probably doesn't have too much life left on it, but we can get through a little while with that for the larger pieces of equipment, but the F-150 is just for daily use around the complex.
Questions on that? Just quick question. Other facilities that y'all manage, do you have vehicle assets that you are part of OVG versus the facility?
All the facilities I've been at over the years, the vehicle is the asset of the facility, whether that's a university or municipality or privately owned. OVG traditionally does not have material assets at the facilities unless our management agreement were to state otherwise. But in our management agreement, I believe we are not permitted to do that.
Correct. I was just curious if you did it elsewhere or what was
It's not common.
It's not common. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Not common. And real quick, just to go back to Commissioner Tyson's question earlier about basketball, if you saw there were two lines in there, it was split. So the hope would be to get a new court in this upcoming year of 27, and then the hold for 28 is potentially for baskets, shot clocks, and sideline tables that don't currently exist. We have baskets and shot clocks, but they are very old. So the thought was if the team continues to prove the viability and depending on what happens with the facilities, the sideline tables may or may not be needed, but the baskets and shot clocks are aging out as well. The absolute priority currently, though, is the court.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Assistant Manager Phillips, you want to continue?
All right, that concludes the Crown section of the CIP, so I'll take direction from the board or Mr. Greer if we want to go back to solid waste or where we want to go from here.
Anything to add on Crown?
No, nothing else.
Board, no other questions on Crown, so no outstanding, so we'll go ahead and move forward to solid waste.
Thank you, Seth.
And we'll probably not get to the fee schedule.
All right, we'll jump right into the solid waste management, the solid waste fund. So I'll work on presenting that. Amanda Lee is here. I think she's out working on a call. So just a little bit about our solid waste fund. Our solid waste fund is an enterprise fund. And I do want to just take a moment and highlight a little bit of what that team does. So we have our Ann Street location where the landfill is. We have 16 convenience sites around the county. We have our Wilkes Road facility, which manages over 50,000 tons of organic waste, so think yard waste, and it turns it into compost. The fund for solid waste is assessed through a $130 yearly user fee versus a property tax, and the recommended fund balance appropriation for this year is about $8.5 million. So we do have some capital improvement projects in progress. They are highlighted on this slide. We are working through a lot of large projects at the landfill to work to expand capacity. The landfill expansion with the baby cell is a key part of this initiative, and the soil contract that the board worked through to help us get that base was a part of that. And as I did before, I'll put up any questions. I'll do my best to answer them. All right, I'll continue on. So we have for the fiscal year 27, our capital improvement plan, approximately $4.3 million for CIP in the recommended budget. They include work for our adaptive reuse building at the Ann Street Environmental Complex, as well as 2 of our new convenience sites around the county where some preliminary work is going on. I'll continue on if no questions. Again, we have in our capital outlay items such as a fire suppression system, a compactor, other items for the transfer station where work is currently in progress. And this is page 72 in your recommended document. All right, I'll continue on. Just a little bit about vehicles that are planned for fiscal year 27. We have several here, almost $950,000 worth of 4 different vehicles. In a previous infrastructure or finance committee meeting, there was a discussion about a capital replacement schedule for vehicles. General Manager Lee is working through that, and we will be bringing that back in the fall.
Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank you. Ages of the vehicles?
I do not have that information with me. I can get it from General Manager Lee, and I'll get it back to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we can email that out if necessary.
Yes.
We'll email that out.
And also, the solid waste, the vehicles, the capital, is one-time funded.
Continue on. And that concludes all with solid waste at this time.
Commissioner Adams, you're recognized.
What was the last one you just said?
The vehicles, the CIP, one-time funded, as far as the solid waste fund balance.
Okay, I'll just solid
Yeah,
waste.
solid waste
Okay,
fund,
all right.
yeah, solid waste fund
Okay, I
balance.
was wondering, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I'm good. Left that part out. Thank you.
We have 5 minutes.
Well, we're going to do a wrap-up of we're not going to get into fees, because the fees is going to be longer than 5 minutes.
Okay.
I have a
Because the
feeling.
fees was just solid waste.
Is it just solid waste?
It's just
solid
solid waste
waste.
and water and sewer. General fund fees is tomorrow. But it's your.
Yeah, let's cover all the fees.
Would you like for me to cover the
Commissioner,
I
water?
just had one question on this fee.
Go ahead.
That is, because all the rest of them seem to be, most of them we had already agreed to do these top ones. But why was and I don't even know what street sweeping materials are, why did that one double? Nothing else doubled. Why did that one double? Everything else goes up a few cents or a few dollars.
I will get the information if it's okay with the board. I'll send that out via email as well with the other information.
That was my.
What are you looking for?
On the street sweeping materials,
Why it doubled?
why it doubled. The rest of them went up a few cents, but that one just doubled. And I don't even know what street sweeping materials were. I thought we were sweeping streets or whatever. But I guess it's the materials at the landfill. So, thank you. You can get it later. I just wondered why it doubled.
I'll send that out via email.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So the fee schedule is just specific to solid waste?
There's solid waste and then there's
Public utilities. And a lot with the solid waste fees, with our transfer station, many of these are our transfer station rates, which are anticipating our transfer station being done. Sorry.
Hold on. Board, do we want to keep moving forward? We're going to add probably 15 minutes to this. You want to pick it all up tomorrow? Because I know I personally have questions on these, and I have a feeling other people are going to have questions on them. So again, I just want to be respectful of time. I think we covered more ground than I actually thought we covered today with the school, and we added in the school piece of it. So I think we can cover all the fees at one. I didn't mean to cut you off, Assistant Manager Phillips.
Sir.
Please don't take that disrespectful.
She just got back from New York, so she
used to it.
she needs some rest.
So if we can cover all the fees at one time, and that way we can circle back through all those.
And we'll bring back that information that Commissioner Adams requested tomorrow.
All right, so I want to circle back to thank you, ACM. Is there anything else on that before we go to, nothing else? Okay.
We're good.
All right, so we're going to carry the fee over. We've hit solid waste. We'll go ahead and move to commissioner discussion and questions. just a real quick recap before I turn it to you guys. We added one thing to the parking lot today, the funding parking lot, that's $150K for cybersecurity. It's CIF, so it's one time. We also do out back, just as a clarification, I think they said 0 students, but 50 students that were coming from Ponderosa. They weren't at Manchester, so just a confirmation of that. We've got I'd ask the board any questions on the debt model for the general government and the education. Go ahead and send those to the staff. Staff, as you've been, just forward that information back out to all the commissioners, so we'll have an understanding of that. I'd hope that we could move to a decision on that by the 11th meeting, which is this week, so we can get to a meeting. If we get to it sooner, we will. And then we had 2 due outs on solid waste, one the age of the vehicles, and the second was the cost of the street sweepers. I believe that captured everything. And then looking back to last week, all the debt model actions were taken care of. We had superintendent come brief us. We had the cybersecurity already brought back to us as well. And then there was a scenario around the penny a year. So that was a question that was brought up last time, that we were going to go back and look at kind of the impact of if we reduce the tax rate by a penny a year. We wanted to kind of model that out. That was a question that was brought up earlier in one of the first budget workshops by Commissioner Faircloth, and then it was brought back last week. So that's the only other due outs that I have on my list. And the only thing that we have in the parking lot right now is that $150K. Is there anything else that I missed, Commissioner Tyson?
So, Mr. Chair, just a point of information to the chair. Are we, under item 7, are we discussing any priorities or concerns about what was presented today or with the overall budget?
With what's presented today or has already been presented, and any due outs that we had, any information that came back to us. If we want to look forward, we've been asking questions ahead of the meeting. Tomorrow is going to be personnel. If there's something that you haven't already showcased or provided to the staff, here's a time you could make that ask that they present it versus an email ask. So if there's something you want to look at and I sent that out to everyone this morning, what we're looking at on the 9th and what we're looking at on the 11th.
Yep.
So if there's anything you want to look at or any questions or any information you need looking forward to the 9th or the 11th, you could ask that now or send an email.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Did I miss any, commissioners, anything that's left out there that we haven't talked about? Okay. County manager, any additional things that you need from the board?
Not at this time.
All right.
Well, one clarification, Chairman. I thought the 1 cent item had been pulled.
Has it been resolved?
I thought it was resolved.
That's what
Yeah.
I want to make sure the commissioners that asked for it.
came on there and said.
Said he was okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
You thought what?
Future years. You were talking future years.
Well,
This year.
okay. I don't know.
Okay. You want to talk about it offline?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll clarify it after the meeting. And either take it off the list or not.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Anything else?
I have a question.
Vice Chairman Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In regards to, yes, this 1%, if it's going to be discussed after the fact, can we get an email update on that? Seems to be, I guess, a issue or concern if it's been clarified and resolved or not. I would like an update on that, please.
Yes, ma'am, and I'll provide it to you personally as well. I just wanted to allow Commissioner Faircloth to talk to the county manager and make sure he's got what he needs from the ask, from the request. And I'll clarify that. We'll clarify that to the board, but I'll give you a call and let you know.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. No other items. Board, we've got, just as a reminder, we move, our next meeting is on the 9th.
Point of order,
Which
Mr.
is
Chair, I think we added a closed session at the beginning.
correct. I'm just reiterating. I'm not moving to adjournment yet. Thank you, sir. Thank you for keeping me straight, but I've got the agenda, sir. Thank you. Just reminding what we look at for our next meetings. The next budget meeting will be, hold on, sorry, my apologies, I'm trying to pull it up here. Will be on June 11th June 9th. June 9th from 3 to 5 p.m. and then again Thursday at 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And that was outlined in the email I sent to you this morning on the topics for the next two items. Recall, board, also just as a point of administration before we go to closed session, that we moved the agenda meeting on Thursday to 3 p.m. because the ribbon cutting for the Cape Fear Valley Medical Center Methodist University Medical School is at 1 p.m. So we'll go 1 p.m. ribbon cutting, 3 p.m. Board of Commissioners agenda meeting, and then 5:30 budget session. All right, any questions on the next series of budgets or what we're looking at? All right, we'll go ahead and move to other items or no other items. We'll look at, we'll go ahead and move to closed session. Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized for a motion to move to closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that we go into closed session pursuant to GS 143-318-11A3 to consult with our attorney for attorney-client privilege.
Second.
Got a motion to move into closed session. It's been properly seconded. Any discussions on the motion? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. All in favor, raise your right hand or say aye.
Vice Chairwoman Jones?
Aye.
Unanimous.
All right, and we'll go ahead and move into closed session at this time.
He's on his way.
This time I entertain a motion to come out of closed session. Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion that we come out of closed session pursuant to GS 143-318.11A3, consulting with our attorney to preserve attorney-client privilege.
Second.
We've got a motion to come out of closed session. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, ask for your vote. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
And just one point, the item that was discussed was around our, deals with Ewan Cole and our suit. There's no action to come before the board at this time. Hearing no other action, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Faircloth, you're recognized.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion to adjourn has been properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor, raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
And we're adjourned. Thank you.